Hey all, I'm back with a new video, and today we're going to talk about something a little bit different. We're going to talk about 3D printing. So I took advantage of the Amazon Prime days and picked up an entry-level 3D printer. I had heard about people using it for things with their hobbies, paracording being mine, or one of mine, and I thought, is there anything out there? And actually, I did find some things. I thought I'd talk about them and go through them with them. So, first off, this winder holder, paracord holder, something easily found. But then there were some other things: a fid, a buckle, and I don't even know what you'd call it, a strap holder, what have you. So we're gonna go through these, talk about them, discuss, is it worth it or is it not? So stay tuned. This is one I picked up. I got like 5 of these for a few bucks. But this one I could print. Now you can see I was able to customize it, which that's pretty cool. I was able to put the Paracord reviews on it. And there's a pattern out there. So now with this one, you know, there's a little bit of flexibility, but it's fairly cheap. It's plastic. This was 3D printed. It doesn't have the flexibility, but part of that is due to the filament I used. I used what's called PLA. It's more rigid. It also has a lower heat resistance. There are other filaments you can use that have a higher heat resistance, and they offer more flexibility and tension. But this was really just to kind of test it out. So now, as far as doing paracord, you can see the cardboard can be used, but really the idea here was, is it worth it? Now this, in and of itself, actually took about an hour to print. But the advantage is, I was able to customize it. I can also make it bigger, I can make it smaller. I actually accidentally made one that would be great for smaller paracord. So it does give you some customizability. Is that even a word? But really, for the purposes here of just being able to have a quick and easy put together spool, you know what? If you have the filament, and filament is cheap, or if you know somebody that has a 3D printer, something like this can be printed out in about an hour, hour and a half. And really the cost, considering a full spool, is anywhere between $11 to $13, depending upon the type. You know what? It's fine. You could do it. This will work out great. And one thing I do like about this one is you can also, if you wanted to, go this way. I wouldn't normally do that, but if I have an extra amount, why not? The other one I liked about this one is the number of holes. Now, if you scale it up, these are going to be bigger, so that's something you have to remember. But if you wanted to, if you had a 3D printer, if you have access to one, if you know somebody who has one, and maybe you want to make a customizable spool or something like that for somebody, you know, put like Joe's Paracord or something like that, you know, that this could be a pretty cool little gift. So for this, I'm going to say, you know what, 3D printing of a 3D printing makes complete sense. It allows for some customization and looks good. It's actually smaller than the one I bought. So for this, we're going to say makes sense. Okay, let's go on to the next thing. Fids. I 3D printed that. It actually has a little hole on it, as you can see here. Now, the tip is fairly sharp. I mean, I'm not going to get blood out of it, but it is fairly sharp. What we're going to have to see, though, is does it give you the threading like you would get with a metal one? So what we're going to do here is we're going to take some of this paracord. I am going to do a quick melt just to give it a hard edge. Now, since this is meltable plastic, unlike metal, I have to be cautious and let it cool a little bit. So that's something that you have to think about. This will melt at about anywhere between 150 to 180 degrees Celsius or higher. So, you know, it's not going to melt, say, just sitting out in a garage, but if it got right on flame, it will melt. So now we're going to take this and we're going to see if we can get it to go in. Now, normally with the metal ones, it'll kind of force it to take shape. As you can see here, though, I'm not having that much luck. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my pliers and I'm going to break up this a little bit just to make it a little bit more pliable. And let's see if we can get this in. So you can see it kind of went in, but now it's stretching. So I'm going to try it one more time. Let's cut this. Once again, we'll just do a light. We're not going to fully melt it. We're just going to give it a light little, I'll call it a crust. Smash it up. Just go like that. Okay. It's warm but not hot. Let's see if we can get it in there. Yeah, you can see it doesn't really do the job. Maybe if you could take and expand the hole out a little bit, like that. But there's not the screw capability, so you're really pretty much just using the pressure of the you're not the pressure's not the right word. You're pretty much just using the constriction of the hole to allow it to get up in there. Whereas like the metal ones, if you look at the inside, there's usually like much like a screw or a bolt, there will be a threading so that you can screw it in and it'll get the whole piece. This, I know that they tried that. It's just not going to work. It's just not working. There's no screw, so what at best you could do is if you can get it to fit, you might be able to jam it into the hole. But even then, it doesn't really want to work for you. So I was really hopeful that this would work, but maybe with some manipulation, maybe if it was made a little bit larger. Let's see, now I got it in, but that took a lot of doing. And so if you wanted to make something for somebody, you know, just so they could get started, if you knew somebody that really needed it, they didn't want to make a big investment, something like this takes 20 minutes to print out. It doesn't take that long. It doesn't use a lot of filament. So if you wanted to, you could totally print this out. It'll work. It's just not going to be as good as the metal ones. Personally, I would say if somebody's to the point where they need a fid, unless they are just really on hard times, spend anywhere between $5 to $10. Pick up some fids on Amazon. It's totally worth it. And as you can see, it did come out. For this one, I'm going to say pass unless you have, I'll call it extreme circumstances. Now the other one, I'm not a big user of these, but this is a shackle, and with it, you can see it's 3 separate parts, and you can put them all together, push this piece in, comes through, pops out. Pretty basic. Now you can buy these fairly cheap. You can buy a bulk load of them. But if you were wanting to experiment, if it's something where maybe you've never used these before and you want to try it, then I could totally see printing these out. It also gives you a sense for the size. Now, using PLA, which is the standard cheapest filament, you're not going to get the strength. This is brittle. It has some flex, but if you wanted to use it for something truly outdoorsy, this would not be ideal. It would work. And like I said, it would be great for experimenting. Same with this one. This is pretty basic. It allows for some adjustability where, like say with a standard clasp, you kind of have to know what size you're going to go for and then build to that. With this one, the concept is you can build it, make a loop, and then give a little bit of adjustability. You can make these even longer. So you can go, this one is maybe an inch. You could have it be longer and go 3, 4, whatever you like. So if you were making them for a broader audience, this may be the way to go. So why don't I take and make a couple of things with these so you can see them, and we'll be right back. Okay, so we're done. I gotta say, I like this one a lot better. It was a lot easier to do. Holes were a little difficult, but once I got through that, the beauty of this one is you can easily unclasp, and it gives you some adjustability, so you can go higher, lower, what have you. You don't have to be as accurate compared to this one where it would be easier if you had a jig. Now, so as I said, for shackles like this, you're probably better off buying those in bulk from someplace like Amazon or Temu even. But for something like this that you may want to customize, you know, go get printing up a plate full of these is relatively inexpensive and fairly easy. So with that, I'm just going to say, if you've been in the market for a 3D printer, if it's something that's interesting you, there are things you can do. I haven't even talked about the jigs, and I'm going to do a separate video on that. But you can make jigs with a 3D printer relatively cheap. just for the cost of filament and maybe a couple of screws and bolts. But if for something like this, it's great. It's totally something that you can use, that is available, and you can modify it to what your needs are. Not to mention, the filament spools are great for using for bulk orders, because once you're done with the filament, you got these big plastic spools that you can turn around and use. So that's it for this week. I'll follow up. I'm going to print out a couple of jigs. We'll talk through those. And until next time, keep paracording. Later.